the Vulcan Forge ecosystem. We're pleasure to have Jamie, the CEO, and two community members who were awarded the community award, I believe, at Volcon over the weekend. And that's his name is Jap, JAP. You can see him there, and Chris Romano. These guys were early into the ecosystem, and I figured it would be a good idea to have them on just to get some perspective from them. Jap's an avid Medium writer. He's been pushing out a lot of content around the fundamentals of land staking and whatnot, and we'll get into that so we can kind of get some juicy details. And Chris, I had the pleasure of connecting with last week. One of these things I really like to do is when I find a project that I think could be interesting, I dive into the community and kind of connect with those community members. So it's been really great to kind of get their perspective on things because I'll just admit right now I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. So I look to the thought leaders and experts to figure out, okay, how do I develop an investment thesis around this? Like, what are the growth initiatives? Community is such an important part of a crypto project. It can kind of make or break it. And so when you find a tight knit community where people are very passionate and loyal to the idea, and I think Jamie is a really big part of this. He's looked at as a leader of this project, obviously the CEO, but a bit more than that. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they kind of have to say. Um, I think it's pretty obvious that I like PYR and the Vulcan Forge idea. Um, I don't want to really harp on AXS too much, but I do see, one of the main crypto use cases of this play to earn kind of metaverse super trend that's occurring as a very powerful driver. And you can see a lot of outside capital coming into this from VCs. And, one of the things about gaming in particular, for me, is that it's very relatable. And so when I look at crypto, it could be daunting at times. And so outside investors, they can look at the video game market. They can see kind of the growth. I think everyone's seen Ready Player One, and where society is going in terms of how digital assets are going to become a part of it. And so when I found Vulcan Forge and PYR, and believe me, I was not the first, right? Some of these guys got in under $1 because they had the forward thinking to kind of believe in Jamie and the roadmap and whatnot. So kudos to them. But when I think about this project in particular, and I analyze the landscape of play to earn and these metaverse plays, is PYR had a unique proposition for me, just in the sense that they're a full gaming suite, right? So this is 8 games versus one. So you can look at a lot of options on scaling user growth. Maybe 4 games are a hit, maybe 1 game's a hit. There's a lot of essentially contingency plans for the success of a lot of these games. On top of that, I think these guys brought a really unique approach with bringing on the Vulcan decks pretty quickly. I mean, we saw AXS launch their decks, and that had been something that was planned for a while, and they accomplished it. But PYR pretty quickly launched that, and I think it's awesome that they're starting to kind of get innovative with the yields that can be earned. In this case, there's actual in-game NFT yields, which you're not just getting tokens. So what this does is, I think this breeds a lot of cross promotion across this P2E metaverse play, where we saw them kind of hint towards sandbox and whatnot, where it's going to incentivize other projects in the ecosystem, in the gaming ecosystem, to partner up, right? And with that in return, just creates a larger community as a whole, and also maybe some unique incentive around token lockups. Uh, Outside of that, they've just kind of hit home on all of the roadmap items, right? So when you look at a project and you see, here's what we want to accomplish, and these guys are checking boxes, it's really refreshing to see. I could probably go on a lot about this project. I mean, I've kind of said a lot of it on Twitter, but this is more to give Jamie the floor and some of the community members just to educate you guys, because I think there's a comfort level is needed before, call it ape into something, or you develop an investment thesis around it. So that's kind of what I did. I immersed myself in the community. I came up with a thesis around why this is unique in relation to the other play to earn games, in this metaverse landscape. I think we all know that they've kind of done this organically without any sort of VC funding, which is very unique in itself, considering how much kind of attention this space has and capital pouring into it. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie. Just maybe he can give an intro for those just coming here to learn about Vulcan Forge, PYR. I know that there were some really unique things said at Volcon and a lot of announcements. I'm still trying to keep up myself. But a lot of interesting things that are going to help push forward the growth initiatives, scale user growth, and kind of hopefully increase total value locked in the Vulcan decks through more cross promotions. I believe they have some new metaverses coming out, and innovative ideas around land staking. So Jamie, I'm going to give you the floor here. I hope that wasn't too of a long-winded intro for you guys, but yeah, really excited to hear what everyone has to say.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep. Yeah, we got you loud and clear.
Superb. First of all, thanks for having me, Mr. ISO. I think you did an incredible job introducing the product and where we are. I have to sort of tell your listeners that you came in. I mean, literally, a lot of these sort of Twitter personalities and whatnot do kind of like shills for cash and all that sort of rubbish, but Crypto ISO literally came into Discord one day out of nowhere, and we didn't even know who his Twitter following was and who he was and all that. And he was he just was asking questions about the games and the community, and he kept asking and so that's why we've got such a good relationship. I mean, we don't do any of this kind of paid shilling and all that rubbish. And as you touched on a second ago, everything we've done is very much organic. We started as we're one of the sort of few projects that moved from gaming. We're a game studio, and we moved into sort of the crypto NFT space. We actually did a few sort of digital art NFTs and all that kind of stuff many years ago when OpenSea was I think it's pretty much a WordPress site back then. It was like no one was really sort of getting into the NFT space, and so that didn't work. So we sort of got back to gaming and all that, and it was only when we sort of realized that my goodness, these NFTs are sort of going for crazy bucks in gaming. There's got to be a sort of market here where we can conjoin the enormous gaming market and the enormous crypto market. Now, as I'm saying that, I want to sort of recap that's where my head was and sort of our company's head was a year or so ago. And I think right now you're seeing a lot of tweets and a lot of people sort of believe and promote this idea that gaming and crypto is going to combine to make this enormous galaxy of a market. But I think the reality is, and this is coming from someone who's obviously, our company is immersed fully into this whole play to earn idea, metaverse idea. That's not the case. Obviously, you're going to see a lot of metaverse and play to earn hype tweets and trailers and all that stuff of people sort of trying to join the bandwagon and sort of capitalize as much as possible on this. But it's been a circle that I've had trouble squaring for about half a year ago, because the reality is gaming doesn't need blockchain right now as it stands. I mean, you're looking at like a $250 billion industry versus 150 million industry. And the fact is, gamers are happy to pay, they are paying, sometimes for World of Warcraft or these other games, monthly sort of subscriptions to sort of play. I mean, so the gaming companies aren't scared that users are going to stop playing their games and they're suddenly going to turn to play to earn games instead of it. That's not the case right now. So that's the first misconception I think we have to put out there. the whole idea of play to earn being the future, that term is a bit of a meme. If you take it on its basic merits, to think that you can just pay out endlessly for people to play a game. So the trouble we came into was we were making these cool games because our games are in terms of blockchain gaming, they're pretty sort of out there, and I'd say sort of some of the best, to be honest, without sort of sound too confident. We're having this trouble where we were making these games and they were like fun to play, and then the minute sort of the idea of getting rewarded and sort of earning from these games came into it, the entire energy changed, and it sort of people sort of looked at it more as an investment. So it was in that time that I was thinking, well, why are people choosing to play these NFT games, these play to earn games, these metaverses? Is it because they're just after money, or is it because they're just after fun? Now, if it's just after fun, they're going to stick with like the plethora of incredibly made games by the likes of Ubisoft and whoever else, Blizzard, out there for the fun. If they're after money, then they're going to go straight into crypto. They're going to trade, they're going to put in decks, they're going to lock up, they're going to farm. Axie Infinity was the exception. I think it's still the start of all this, in that you could earn, but you could also visualize what you were doing. And obviously the game isn't, it's no Call of Duty, is it? But you could sort of visualize these characters playing against each other and earn at the same time. So it's the first step into that arena where you were earning but visualizing as you're earning. So anyway, so as we sort of went along this journey, as we were making the game, you're thinking, well, what's the purpose of doing it? It was, I got to sound like an epiphany, and I woke up with this sort of epiphany, but it was an epiphany that what actually the beautiful thing in all of this, and what we're making for those that really propagate, truly the idea of a metaverse, it's not a new type of gaming, it's not a new type of crypto, it's an entirely different vehicle, an entirely different sort of moving part, and that is the metaverse. And when I say metaverse, I'm not saying I'm not using it like everyone's using that term here and there for everything. Everything seems to be the metaverse. It's play to earn. It's actually the concept of metaverse. It just means a futuristic world. But when I say metaverse, I mean ownership of your economy within a virtual landscape or a virtual world. So that's the thing that blockchain is allowing. It's allowing real currency to change hands. It's allowing real ownership of assets within the game, within the world. And in doing so, you're creating something that no game can ever do, which is, a sort of this virtual society where your actions within it can affect you in the real world. Now, for me, that's not even a game anymore. I mean, that's where we've got to separate. You can't just stick NFTs in a game and say that's a metaverse. You've got to look about what it implies having these NFTs within a game. I mean, what kind of virtual world you make, whether it's space, or in our case Greco-Roman Vulcanverse, where you own land and NFTs, that's up to how should we say, the vehicle or the virtual world maker of how you want to represent this economy. But it's the idea of an existence of an economy within this virtual space through NFTs and a currency that gives way to something we haven't seen before. And that's something which is actually far more interesting than just saying, oh, let's slap some NFTs on gaming and combine both the markets and everyone's going to flock there. That's just not reality. The reality is we're making this something, not just us, but those who are sort of pioneering the space, something far more beautiful, philosophical, and I think economically viable, if the play to earn sort of route isn't just sort of bribing people to play your game. So that's where we are now. I won't go too much into sort of shilling, who Vulcan Forged are and who we are, and because all that sort of information is around on the web. We are a team of about 42 of us over the world. There's 14 of us in house in Greece, and so yeah. I know you sort of asked me to introduce the project, but I went on a bit of a sort of philosophical rant there, ISO. But I hope that sort of starts things off okay.
Yeah, no, that was really helpful. Obviously, you can tell that you're very passionate about it. So, I guess the next thing maybe to touch on around kind of the announcements at Volcon that you guys had over the weekend.
Yep, sure. We've obviously signed some deals with Merit Circle and Yield Guild Games. Both of those have come on board now, and together, I think they've invested about $500,000 in acquiring assets. So this is the next stage where we open up into all the scholars and sort of user acquisition. So we've spent these years building the games and making Vulcanverse and Berserk and whatnot. So this is the time when we are going to open up this enormous NFT lending system where anyone can sort of come in, they can borrow, rent an NFT for free, and the lava they earn, which is our secondary token, they share that with the owner of the NFT. So that was one of the big announcements we did at Volcom was the Merit Circle. The second was that we are going to expand into many metaverses because Vulcanverse is so obviously the land value's gone up, and this whole idea of virtual world and an economy within it is so alluring to us that we think right now we are one of the very few functional virtual metaverses. Okay, all our gameplay features aren't there, and there's lots of things to put in, but why stop there? So we are going to create 4 new metaverses on top of Vulcanverse. We've got like a samurai, ancient Japan one coming. We've got like an Arthurian, Arthurian legends one coming out. So we really want to sort of dominate that whole virtual world metaverse space. The Vulcan Dex is sort of going well. We were doing lots of gaming token pairs. We've got one coming with a sandbox. We've got like a cross collab with characters. They're making Charon, which is the ferryman to Hades, the character in the game, and we're making the Sand Wizard. And so this whole NFT farming is a great idea for sort of people that want to sort of earn NFTs from the game by locking up LP. So not just sort of locking away tokens. And of course, the big one, which I completely overlooked, is our own blockchain, Elysium blockchain, which is coming out. This is going to be dedicated entirely to all our metaverses and all our NFTs. And we just want to own our own economy. It's just having ownership of how we sort of reward validators and nodes and people that sort of invest their time and money into the system. We want control over that. So yeah, they were the big ones, and Volcom was amazing. Couldn't believe it. Like hundreds of people coming out from America and all over Europe, and I think that's because as I said, we're not really a crypto company as such. We're sort of more gamers. So being in touch with the community and transparent with them every day is, I think, a big part of the mutual respect we have for each other.
Yeah, that's great. So I think one of the things that I look for is when looking at this space as a whole is like who came out as a crypto company first and who came out as a gaming company first, right? Because the gaming companies are, when the game was first that's transitioned to crypto, it's like you have this existing community and you also have real gamers where a lot of things that come out today are trailers and this is a play to earn game but may not have an existing community, or they just saw like, oh, crypto gaming is ripping, so we're just going to create a project. So I think that is one of the unique aspects of it. I get a lot of questions around user growth and when is it going to start to ramp? I mean, can you maybe just touch on a little bit of what games are in beta, what games are live right now, like what's coming in the pipe? Because there's 8 of them, right? Some of them are very simple games that could catch fire, like from just a mobile standpoint, where obviously more involved, like Vulcanverse, a bit of a learning curve and kind of maybe more true to like the actual gamer, right? Because when we look at a lot of numbers being thrown around on these pitch decks and whatnot, are there really 3 billion gamers, 2 billion gamers in the world? I mean, I don't know. If you're just considering someone playing on their phone, then sure, they're a gamer, but the hardcore kind of people playing these more involved games, that number seems a bit inflated. So just kind of curious to hear some of your thoughts around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to sort of gauge any numbers, really. I mean, unless it's on blockchain, which most games aren't, it's very hard to sort of identify who's unique and who isn't. But there's no doubt that there are probably 1 billion gamers in the world, or something ridiculous like that. And yeah, I mean, for us, unfortunately, when you're a gaming company, you're not just you're not a crypto, you're not a blockchain just hyping yourself for 2 years and sort of getting all the exposure. You've got to be very careful with what you release. So there's been no point us marketing all our games, when they're so unfinished, and they're going to be brutally attacked by even like a preteen teenager who's going to play them. So we've only just recently now got out of beta for a lot of our games. So we've got Berserk, which is like a sort of a Hearthstone game. I think that's one of our most second to Vulcanverse. That's probably our most popular game right now, and that's constantly improving. And that's the first game that will be earning you lava, and it's like an NFT. I mean, it's similar to Gods Unchained, but it's sort of got that Greco-Roman feel to it. We've got Forge Arena, which is like an arena battler. We've got Block Babies, which is like sort of a cute card collectible game. We've got Vulcan's Chess. We've got goodness me, we've got Agora, which is like a digital art one, and there's Coddle Pets, which is like a dragon game. But obviously our main game is Vulcanverse. I mean, there's no doubt the Vulcanverse is probably the most sort of interesting and sort of potentially, growth wise, could be the biggest, because it's sort of Minecraft meets World of Warcraft on steroids. Really, you can sort of just literally make your own fantasy scape and explore and quest and battle and earn, of course. But in terms of user growth, the limitations we've had has been that there are only 10,000 plots of land. And with that, the maximum you can have is 10,000 users. So that's why we came up. Well, we didn't came up with. We kind of adapted Axi's sort of scholarship system. We call it the Sedalian program, where anyone can sort of rent out their land to a number of people to sort of come in and use their land. They can build on it. They can explore, and we sort of enlarged the world to like 4 other worlds as well. So that's why this scholarship program is so important for us, because NFTs are always going to be pricing out a lot of people. And so that's where our user growth, I think, is going to explode, because we're literally opening up to sort of tens of thousands of people through Merit Circle and YGG, and anyone else who wants to sort of get involved. It's not always through guilds. So that's our roadmap from now until the end of the year, is going to be focusing on the user acquisition. We've done all the base work, all the structural sort of background work for years, and I guess we've tried to remain quiet. I mean, with our community, we're hypey and fun, but now it's just out of nowhere. It's just sort of, I guess it's kind of just leaked out to the masses, sort of where Vulcanverse is, and thanks to sort of people like yourself doing the research, I think a lot more people are sort of coming in organically. The DEX, of course, is something a little bit more separate, because it's sort of very, very crypto oriented. Sort of lock up PYR with any other gaming token and get an NFT farm. Yeah, that's I think we've got to 3 million TVL on that. It's only been launched for a week or two. Yeah, so from now until December, we are expecting. I mean, we said 100,000 users by the end of the year. There's no doubt in my mind we'll hit double that. We've already hit 40,000 users, which is tiny, and we haven't even opened up scholarships yet. So yes, there we are.
So that's and after this, I'm going to kind of ask Jack and Chris some questions more about around the technical stuff with land staking, and also their experience with Vulcan Forge and how they got into it. But so that's 40,000 users across 8 games, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, are still an alpha. Like, we've got a poker game with experience, and so some games are still an alpha. But yeah, 8 games in total. And when we can make the other metaverses, there'll be 12 games, because we're obviously doing the other sort of virtual worlds too. So yeah, 40,000 across 8 games right now, which is tiny, to be honest.
And is there a timeline of like when these are all going to be out of beta, and what amount of them are going to be mobile and on the App Store and Android?
Yeah, well, Berserk's on App Store at the moment already, and the Android. I'd say Berserk's out of beta now. It's just sort of in that weird gap between season 1 and season 2, while we sort of add some more functionality before we open up the next season. Vulcanverse will always be ever improving, so it's kind of like better forever in terms of like how can we not always upgrade a virtual world. But if you've got land that's fully functional now and you can play, and I think the real question is when the lava routes open, because that's our secondary token you sort of earn by playing. And of course, we sort of made it so there are so many use cases for lava. You need to upgrade your vulcanite for transactions on the upcoming Elysium blockchain, for NFT sales. So we want to make as many use cases for this token that you earn as possible, so it's not just sort of free money for anyone who wants to play. And on that note, it's worth saying that you can't just come in, borrow an NFT, make some lava, and sell it. We have a threshold where you have to earn 10,000 experience points before you can even cash out your lava. So you can see your lava coming up and up while you're playing, but you can't cash it out until you've played enough. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to be sustainable. It's not a charity. It's a sustainable economy we want to make. So yeah, I think November, next month, I'd say all the games are going to be totally out and all earning lava. Berserk will be the first one, season 2, with $100,000 prizes to win. Vulcanverse will be open to scholars, and all the other games will be out full. So November is going to be the month where I'd say all our main games are fully functional.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of people approach projects and they see a roadmap and they have some skepticism around like, okay, well, is this possible? But a lot of it lies, again, just harping on the community and the leadership there. So, when people ask me about user growth, it's like, well, here are the growth initiatives, right? Like, how else is any other play to earn, game going to scale their user base? Well, there's really interesting projects like YGG and now Merit Circle, right? So, like, obviously Axie has helped. I mean, Merit Circle with Axie 420 and YGG and that affiliation, getting players through scholarships and incentives. So you guys being in both guilds is like a pretty powerful situation to try to capitalize on growing the user. On top of that, I think one of the things that is interesting is like how many use cases Lava has. That was a pretty big part of kind of my thesis because we all have seen SLP and like okay, it's got one use case and people sell it to monetize it. I think they're working on some things around that, hopefully. But it's a testament to the innovation that's happening in play to earn, right? You guys have now structured a lot of lava routes, as well as bringing NFT rewards to dexes. So I think those are two key things that people should take note of. But
That's exactly it. I mean, I think we can all learn. Anyone sort of creating this economy of metaverses and play to earn routes has to sort of learn from sort of the Axie system that you need. I mean, you need a way for it to sort of be reinvested back into the economy, and someone's got to pay for this, and that's why we were very careful in how we constructed these lava. One, it can't be cashed out immediately. Number two, we want as many routes as possible for that lava to be used by those that are in the games, those that want to upgrade the games, so it has value and it's not just printed out forever and sort of loses its value. And it has a direct pairing to PYR, which it does. So you're absolutely right. I think if you're going to have a play to earn economy, that has to be the third step: play to earn to reinvest to help sustain it.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, let's hear from Chris and Jap. Jap, you're just first on my screen, so I'll give you the floor. If people don't know who he is, he's been an avid Medium article writer about Vulcan Forge and put some pretty impressive analysis together. Helps you understand the power of the yield that can be generated from land staking, right? So the only way to stake your PYR at this point in time, if I'm correct, is by owning land. There's not single-sided staking yet on the DEX, which hopefully we'll get in the coming months. But don't want to take any more time. So Jap, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, can everybody hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. Good. I have two other things to add first.
Sure.
Because we were talking about the user growth. I think it's important to say that if you're going to do some research on this, you will find DepRadar. I believe. It will show very low numbers, but that's just because people need a land plot, to play. So that's a big mistake some people make. So that's something important to keep in mind. What else to say? Do you have any questions, maybe?
Well, how about you just kind of intro yourself?
An intro.
And let us know like how long you've been part of the community. I'd actually like to know myself personally. I just constantly reading your articles.
Yeah.
And then maybe some key points around some of the yield generating strategies without going into like too much boring detail around numbers, but why it's attractive. I mean, you've written a lot of articles around, basically the token lockup that could occur in the supply shock on PYR with some of the initiatives that are coming into play. So yeah, just kind of maybe summarize that, but tell the audience who you are and how you got involved in Token Forge.
Well, I'm a bit older than most people, I guess. I'm 45. That's maybe a nice detail to know. How I got involved is actually a funny story, but I will keep it very short. So I started during the initial OG days, so to say. But after some research, I kind of thought, well, this is not my project. So I got some NFTs and I was a little bit involved. But after a while, I just quit to invest in another project. But my friends, they stayed, and after a while, it started to tingle a little bit. Am I doing? I'm making a big mistake here. So I got back into the project, and it's like a warm bath. The community is just awesome. The team is great. Jamie, the CEO, is just out of this world how he connects with the community. So I decided to do something back and write articles about the project. So that's basically how I started. And that's where the sometimes boring part started. Basically, I can write a lot if it's necessary. So I started to do some heavy investigation about the tokenomics, users, the lockup mechanisms, the burning mechanisms, and that's basically what I write about every day, sort of. That's basically the introduction from my side, I guess. Or do I need to add some more details?
No, that's helpful. Are there any key points from any of the Medium articles that you wrote, if you were to, as a newcomer, maybe an investor, or just, helping to understand the relationship of PYR to land staking or lava, that you want to highlight? I mean, obviously it can get pretty dense, but I think
It's complicated. Yeah. I'm sure for a newcomer, it's lots of information to digest, because the whole ecosystem is just enormous. I know not everything is working yet, but if you are planning on investing in a project like this, you basically want to know what you have to do because of a situation in like a few months. One of my headpieces fell out. So to summarize a little bit, the thing that's really interesting are in fact the land plots right now, because we already know there is a staking program coming. We know the Cedallion program will start, and those are big yield machines, basically. It's better to read my articles about this, I think, because I just can't summarize it right now. But the yield potential is, basically enormous. So yeah, basically, to say it once again, you just have to read and investigate, because it's just impossible to summarize all details in here right now, I believe.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I find myself rereading these things constantly, just because there's a lot of data in them. But
yeah,
so I would encourage everyone to go look at Jap's Medium. I mean, obviously you can see his Twitter profile right there. Cool, Jap, appreciate it. Why don't we hear from Chris briefly, and then we can kind of start to wrap it up and maybe take some questions from the audience, whoever has any requests. So, Chris, the floor is yours.
Hi, man. Yeah, so Chris Romano in crypto since 2017, and I have a background in both day trading and customer due diligence, which is researching companies. So that experience really helps me with crypto trading and doing research into fundamentals of projects. So I'm really skewed towards fundamentals. And well, I think it was in April 2020 or something, I was really into VeChain and I was active on the VeChain Reddit, and Jamie came onto there and he had some first info about this project and a first screenshot. So there was no token, no land, just a screenshot, and I was intrigued but not really triggered yet. And then it was in September that the land sale came, and that was actually what triggered me. I found the concept very interesting, an open world with and land plots to own, and I knew the success of games like Second Life. So yeah, I thought I just start buying 2 plots, and then every few hours that went by, I thought, well, I should probably buy 2 more because, well, you never know. And yeah, so that's a bit how it started. And then in January or something came the news that they were making their own coin. But again, I thought, well, this is like super niche, and it really needed some time to settle in my head. But basically, as time passed, I got more and more bullish on it, and now I don't know how to get more bullish. Yeah, but basically, why I think gaming projects are especially popular right now, because I think for most people, crypto is exciting because it's new technology, and if you make the right investments, you can make money. But the projects themselves are often mediocre, exciting. It's like supply chain tracking or DeFi or exchange coins. But gaming and metaverse projects are completely different. Like suddenly you can interact with the project you've invested in. You can literally see what you've invested in because the games are live, and then there's this nice artwork and cool collectibles, the NFTs. And I think it's this whole full aura around it that makes it so immensely popular with people, and thus creates a far stronger community. And yeah, Falcon accommodates all of this. It has multiple games. It has the DEX with the NFT farming, has the infrastructure and the tokenomics, and the community is super strong. The team is, well, I've never met a team so transparent as this one. So yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, that actually is my intro into Falcon.
That's awesome. Thanks. Appreciate it. It's always good to have people on share their experiences who were there before the token even launched. Okay, that's good. Again, not taking up too much everyone's time here, but I think reading Jap's articles, you're going to get a better sense of kind of the nitty gritty stuff. I actually just got a question on Twitter. So it'd be great if you could share during the space the usages of the token for a new player or investor. What could you do with the tokens? I'm sort of lost due to the many options available. So I don't know if we covered this before, but if anyone coming in, Jamie, do you want to just go over like what the uses are essentially of PYR and Lava? I mean, I think most people know, but maybe just like bullet point format for anyone who joined late?
Yeah, sure. So PYR, it's actually peer. It's like the ancient Greek for fire. It's sort of, if anyone wondered why it's called PYR, pyro and pyromaniac, all that. So PYR is the main sort of, it's a settlement token for all our NFT trades. It's used to stake into land to get returns. Third party DApps hold it in order to list on our marketplace. It's used to level up gods and Vulcanites. It's used to pairing on the deck, so it's the main driver of the entire ecosystem. Soon it'll be used in nodes in order to sort of lock up and be a validated node. I've probably missed a few use cases there, but yeah, I mean, it's like Ethereum would be on the Ethereum blockchain, whereas our Lava is like, I guess it would be like SLP, but obviously on a far grander scale. So it's the secondary token you can earn as you play, and with Lava, use it for much more sort of micro transactional sort of things like cosmetics in the game, and upgrading a character, or allowing access to Tartarus or Elysium, which are other worlds. And obviously soon it's going to be the gas that's going to be needed for Elysium, for the blockchain. So every time you want to sort of put an NFT up for auction, every NFT transaction and minting is going to use Lava as gas. So there's going to be no lack of use cases for Lava. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if anyone's still listening and still interested, and really wants to sort of dig deeper, and if you've sort of invested or bought PYR, then I really urge you to come, find out and learn about what exactly you've invested in. I mean, we're so open in our community. I mean, it's discord.gg Vulcanverse. Anyone, even myself, would help sort of, educate you on everything the ecosystem has to offer. And this is the one thing that I think, one of our weaknesses is that the development's gone so fast that the documentation hasn't kept up with it. And people like Jap and Chris Romano are actually doing a better job than we are in putting out mediums of detailing everything that we're releasing, because every day we release a transparent roadmap of what we're working on today. Every game, what's being worked on, the front end, the back end, so the community have a constant streaming idea of what's being worked on. So yeah, we invite you all to sort of come in and meet us all, and ask any questions in the Vulcan classroom we have. But yeah, they're the two tokens, and obviously PYR is the cow, and Lava is the milk. And yeah, that's that.
Classic.
Great. I think I'm getting like questions from Twitter here too. Someone was asked like, what is your biggest challenge right now and your mitigation plan? I think you maybe have just answered somewhat of the challenges. Like, you guys are moving at such a fast pace. It's basically keeping up with educating everyone to make sure that they're kind of on board with what the path is for Vulcan Forge. But maybe actually touch on, do you guys have, or how many staff do you have, like, with building new metaverses, right? There's 4 coming. Are you planning on expanding that staff and scaling it? Obviously, that seems like a lot of workload. Maybe just some of the operational stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's actually probably our hardest part right now. Okay, one is obviously updating the community with everything that's being built and making sure they're not totally lost in the wave of development. But it's also the back end, streamlining of all this work. I mean, okay, I've had a couple of businesses before in different realms, but nothing on the scale or size of this or how big it's become. So yes, we have got 42 staff. We've got 14 in house. We've got a lot of people and a lot of things happening. But as we're getting bigger and bigger, being able to sort of channel all the sort of the bugs, the feedback, and everything into the back end has been the hardest thing to keep up with. And as I said at VulcanCon in Amsterdam, as these tokenomics are getting so much more complicated, and okay, they are great, and they're for the betterment of the project and long-term sustainability. We have to all just kind of take a little break sometimes now, and let our documentation, let our processes of fixing things and listening to feedback and implementing it catch up. I think for the first 8 months, we've kind of got away with just building and pushing and building and pushing and just saying, here we are. We know it's in alpha. We know it's in beta. There's going to be some bugs, but now I don't think we can afford to do that as much anymore. Things have to be a lot more sort of, thought out, organized, structured milestones. So that whole project management area, which isn't, something that, I've got experience in. I mean, there's a whole plethora and realm dedicated to project managing. We're getting some people on board to handle that. That's our biggest challenge at the moment, literally keeping up with the demand of our developers, not so much the community, but sort of, because we've got people working from the UK, from Ukraine, Pakistan, America. We've got so many different teams and everything. So channeling all that in the right areas is probably the hardest thing, I'd say, right now.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've worked at a bunch of startups, and swim lanes is a pretty important aspect of scalability and growth, right? Because you have this baby that you're nurturing and that's growing at a quick pace. And, to scale, you have to relinquish control and delegate a lot of responsibility outside of you. That's kind of been the heart of it, right? Like talking in Discord, on Twitter, everything, like you're just going to get too thin at one point. So as you guys build out, it will be cool to see kind of as you're scaling your staff, to help kind of hit those milestones and whatnot.
Yeah.
In terms of like a timeline, going into year end, what are the key things that we should be looking at, right? Like, I don't know if you can talk about some of the build out of the decks, right? Is there going to be a direct single staking for PYR, or is that still going to be land based staking for this year? Pairs that potentially be coming.
Yeah,
is it all?
I mean, so I know a lot of people do hold PYR and they want to stake it. At the same time, there are rules that you have to play the game Vulcanverse. If you want to stake it in land, you have to actually build on the land. Otherwise, it's just going to be a load of whales holding land, not building anything on it, and the whole idea of the world is just dead on arrival. So we are going to be opening up some single side pools on the decks, obviously. I mean, anything that sort of Uniswap, Pancake, QuickSwap do, we're going to do it as well, but with a sort of much more gaming oriented feel. As in, like, you can farm NFTs, earn from NFTs from all these different games by looking up these tokens. We'll have, the simple, you can stake PYR on the decks and earn from it by looking it up. We've got some collaborations with, pretty much all the metaverse tokens you've seen now. We've got a collab coming up with them, whether it's like, or maybe I should wait for them to announce it. But yeah, Sandbox is pretty obvious. And
Alpha.
Who?
No, I'm just saying you're dropping some alpha for everyone.
All right.
That was like one of the most attractive things for me, is like you're launching a dex that could become the main gaming dex, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you're gonna have pairs from all of the. I would assume that like a lot of the projects in the guilds, right? It benefits everyone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, even YG, we got. I can say we've got YGG coming there. Yeah, I'm talking to UFO, and we've got a partnership with Terra Virtua and Sandbox. I don't mind dropping these names and stuff because everyone wins in this stuff. I mean, that they get their tokens bought and locked up. Obviously, they're all paired with peer. We get our tokens bought and locked up, blah, blah, blah. And then people from these games, they win NFTs simply from locking up tokens. So the idea, it's great. I mean, I don't think there isn't a gaming dex out there, and not one that does NFT farms like this dedicated to just gaming. So yeah, I mean, the Vulcan dex alone is like a whole new beast. And we've only just started that. And I think that in itself is just going to be, I think it's going to be huge. I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased because it's our project, but yeah, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah, and so I think that's a unique thing about you guys versus others, is like you have a gaming community, right? You have gamers, you have access to the guilds. That's where your user growth can come from. But then you have the optionality to potentially bring in the DeFi crowd with this DEX and yield generating instruments, one being them in-game NFTs. The other one's obviously going to be some sort of token reward structure of the projects and pairs that you match up with. So when I look at this from a valuation standpoint, and I look at the other P2E and metaverse games, I can, I kind of talked about this using like some of the parts analysis, like, okay, what is the DEX worth in terms of the TVL opportunity it has? And then let's look at the user growth of 100,000 to 200,000 users and start to comp it to other games and what that market cap is. And then obviously, things announced at Volcon like are sweeteners to it. And a lot of this stuff comes down to, okay, you build a thesis and you put confidence in the team to execute it. And so one of you guys, I mean, obviously you guys have been hitting a lot of milestones and checking boxes on the roadmap. So I look forward to see the TVL growth in the DEX, which I think is definitely coming based on all the things that I've heard and the initiative to grow that on top of the user growth. So that's like it's this two-pronged approach that a lot of other PDE kind of metaverse, projects don't necessarily have right now. They might just be a game, right? Obviously, actually has a DEX coming. Took them a long time, but they're very careful with the way they execute, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, they're massive. You guys have just been kind of moving at a pretty rapid pace, so it's good to see. And I think, obviously, the point of this is to educate people, right? Like, when you're looking at a coin or a project, and do I want to invest in this? Like, here are the growth initiatives, and this is how you're going to see market cap growth from PYR, in my mind.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. I mean, they're the two metrics I say we can judge Vulcan forward. Well, for me anyway. Okay, I don't look at PYR prizes as a definition of success. I mean, because I'm not invested in the token myself. For me, it's user growth. But not only users that are joining, but users that are staying. I mean, what you don't want is like 1 million people coming in, taking lava, selling it, and going. I mean, that helps no one. I mean, then we're just bribing for like wallet counts, and it doesn't sustain the economy. That's one. And obviously, the DEX TVL is a much easier quantitative metric to sort of value growth of the DEX. But I mean, the DEX and the whole gaming ecosystem we have are two very separate vehicles. The DEX is much easier to track in terms of growth, but the game ecosystem, it's how many people are coming and staying, and the real key is those that earn from playing and then they choose to reinvest into the ecosystem because they enjoy it, and they they are benefiting from it, and they can see bigger rewards because they reinvest in it. We want to avoid those who are just coming, taking, going. I mean, there's no benefit in that for anyone at all. So yeah, they're the two metrics we'd go for. And of course, as a CEO, I can't say too much about the price of PYR and the use cases, but obviously, the use cases for PYR, as more users come in, is just exponentially increase. You have to pay a small PYR fee to even access the Sedalian program. So it's yeah. I mean, I've got no concerns about all that stuff, but I've got to be very careful what I say on that front. But for us, it's users, and yeah, that's what we want. And beyond that, I'm just so friggin' excited about it. I mean, for us, it's not even money, I mean, it's just as I said, the whole concept of the metaverse and be able to control your own economy within these worlds. That's what it's all about for us now.
Can I add something to this?
Yeah, sure, Jeff.
Because I really think if you look at Merit Circle and YGG, that will be a big catalyst, because they will, well, the whole ecosystem will lots of players will flow in out of YGG and Merit, because of the fact lots of those players already active, they are playing Axie like all day right now, but they have so much time left each day to play another game, and that's really a big thing here, because they are happy to join right now, and we are talking about lots of players, so that will be the big catalyst, I think, short term.
Yeah, I think so too. That's the growth initiatives around the user base. I mean, do you guys, Jamie, this is for you. So, right, you guys are you're in both guilds. I mean, you have a pretty loyal community on Twitter and in Discord. Outside of that, where do the marketing initiatives lie as things come out of beta and you guys are fully ramped and you're trying to get more exposure, right? I've always wondered this just in terms of like how video games promote themselves. Obviously don't really read magazines anymore, but there was gamer magazines. I mean,
yeah, I remember those.
like
PC Mag and all that.
when Star Atlas came out, I mean, you couldn't go on the internet without seeing an ad on it, I feel like. And so is that a route you guys are going to go to try to ramp maybe the exposure?
Yeah, well, again, this goes back into what I said initially about what kind of market you're looking at, and it's not hard to target gamers. You sort of go to the right YouTube influencers, you go to the right press releases, and just make sure the game's good. And it's not hard to reach out to the crypto heads. I mean, Twitter's pretty much the only place a lot of crypto investors go anyway, so that's easy enough. But this is new territory. I mean, this whole idea of a virtual world with an economy you can own. There aren't any or many of those about right now. So we're learning as it's going. Who's more likely to come in? I mean, our community is pretty much half gamers, half crypto people, I suppose, at the moment. But they were all in crypto before. So, a lot of companies will say, "Oh, we're going to bring in the whole gaming market to our crypto game," but that's just not the case. I think that's a little bit deluded to think that you can sort of bribe people in with a few bucks here and there. It's got to have something unique about it, and that is the whole virtual world element of constructing your own economy. But yeah, so obviously we've got a launch pad as well. Anyone that wants to sort of turn their game into an NFT game, we do that pretty much for free. We even sort of animate their characters into the chessboard. So, the whole Elysium blockchain is going to be, any game that wants to move into that whole metaverse space, we're going to enable it for them. It's very easy to sort of tokenize assets in any game. But yeah, they've got to ask themselves if that's what they want to do, because as I said, there's no shortage of gamers that want to pay to play, not play to earn. So I think the people who are doing the metaverse have got to ask themselves why they're doing it and who they're targeting. And I did forget that we've got a tower defense game coming out next month on mobile, which is probably going to be the most addictive game to date.
So I want to wait. Did you said you had a launch pad coming out? So is that like your typical launch pad that we see, like where like Avalanche has Zava, Paid had one where people can stake these tokens and games are going to launch essentially on the DEX or the market?
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, in theory, there's 3 launch pads. I mean, the one we've got IDOs who can launch on Vulcan DEX. The second one is we offer grants, like up to about $40,000 for those that want to sort of change their games into NFT games and host them on our marketplace. We've had a few sign up for that, and they're doing well. They're making good pocket out of it. But the third one is, with the whole Steam controversy coming up and all that crap, we decided that, we're just going to, we had the phrase that if one door closes, Vulcan will make it himself kind of thing, that we are releasing this platform called Frenzy, which any play to earn game can use our sort of APK, our API, to sort of reward lava for people playing their game, but they have to hold a minimum amount of PYR peer. So you can have a play to earn game. You want to tap into the Vulcan Forge community. You get some PYR, you hold it, and then you get a certain amount of lava, which you can distribute in your game. The more PYR you hold, the more lava you get to sort of spread out among your games. So everyone wins. We get peer locked up, and so people don't just sort of dump this lava on the market. So yeah, I mean, to say it's like the Steam of blockchain, what we're trying to do, and we are going to do. Yeah. So you are. I mean, that's the launch pad you're probably thinking about.
Okay, so basically more token lockup incentives.
Well, yeah, but I can't say that. I've got to be very careful with my words.
That's how I internalize it. Basically, you can, potentially stake PYR to get new IDO allocations of games that are going to launch outside of the two other things that you talked about from, Steam and partnering up where the games can potentially help people earn lava.
Exactly.
So very cool. Does anyone have any questions from the audience? I mean, we're going on an hour here. I don't want to take too much time, but I hope this was pretty educational to people. I mean, obviously this is a complex project, but when you dumb it down, you can see where the value is. I think why it's undervalued, and just the growth initiatives going forward to how they're going to kind of scale and become a much bigger player in the space. Looks like number one hodler has a question. So let's see if I can do this properly. Requested. Let's get him in here. Okay, you got the floor, buddy.
Hey guys. Thanks for hosting this meetup. It's been very informational. I just know, can one of you guys just explain like the metaverse to all of us? Because I know there are probably some people that have never like heard of even heard the term or even understand what it is. If you guys can just kind of elaborate a little bit on it, so people kind of understand, what the metaverse is in its totality.
Yeah, well, the metaverse actually originated in a sci-fi book many years ago, and I know this because I cheated once for an interview and looked it up on Wikipedia because I wanted to explain where metaverse came from. So the terminology metaverse actually comes from just any world based in the future. So it could be anything outside of blockchain. It just so happens that blockchain games are sort of using the term because I guess this is the newest technology. So the metaverse is, it just means a world based in the future, a futuristic world. And of course, blockchain games are using it because I guess we are living in the new sort of wave of technology in blockchain. So what that means is it usually involves NFTs. Well, I say it does involve NFTs. So your ability to sort of truly own your asset within this game or virtual world and have a currency within it, which in our case is a PYR token, in other cases it's sand or mana, whatever these tokens are, which has a real life value. So what you're doing is you're putting an actual economy which have real implications upon your real life, because this isn't making hit points for a game and then turning off. You can actually sort of earn value and trade and live in a world where it could affect your life in the real world, financially. So I guess that's what the metaverse is. It's creating, I'd say it's creating an economy within a virtual world. I'm kind of sort of using the word game less and less because I think those that sort of think gaming plus crypto equals utopia, it's not that simple. I think it's deeper than that, and that's where we're going with it.
Awesome.
Pleasure.
Cool. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, we got this guy. Hold on a second. Dark chart. Okay, dark chart. You can ask your question. Oh, guess he left.
Probably realized it's a voice question and not typing.
No, he's back. Hold on. Nope, he left again.
Third time's a charm.
Sure. He keeps coming back. I maybe just ask it on Twitter and I'll ask it for you. All good. All right. So that's an hour. I think we had almost 200 people in here at one point, which is pretty cool. First spaces. I think this is really important to do, just because, again, you just want to build the community around it. Some people think I'm shilling it. Fine, cool. Yeah, I'm invested in it. I'm not as early as these guys, but it's the same thing as someone on TV going talking their book. I just want to try to create an awareness for the project, and bring on some community members and obviously the CEO to help other people understand it, right? We're all looking for innovative ideas in crypto right now. I think metaverse play to earn gaming is a pretty strong trend. So why not help people understand a project that could potentially be undervalued and a good investment, but also just a good community to become a part of. May sound cliche, but that's kind of how I look at things. So Jap, thanks for coming on. Chris, thanks for coming on. Jamie, thanks for coming on and explaining, how Vulcan Forge came about, all the components of it, growth initiatives going forward, how you're going to scale kind of the user base. Really excited to see how the Elysium blockchain kind of turns out, and you guys taking a giant step towards combating the scheme announcement essentially. So with that said, unless there's more questions, I think we can wrap it up. So I just want to say thanks again.
Thank you, man. It's been a real pleasure, and congratulations on your first spaces. I'm privileged to be the one.
Oh, yeah.
Broken your spaces, Cherry.
Next time we'll have mangoes.
All right.
Very well done, indeed.
Yeah, man.
All right, cool. So everyone keep up to speed with Vulcan Forge from Jap's Medium articles. You can follow Chris. He's very good at updating things. I believe someone actually, Professor Satoshi Heist has a Twitter thread with like notes from this, which is pretty cool. I'll retweet that. And then follow Vulcan Forge, Vulcan Dex. They're really good about putting out announcements, keeping up with transparency on the project, and look forward to the future. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers,
Thanks, man. All right.